Sheriff was a lucky man, or at least he'd been so far. It was the only way he'd lived so long in a badland town like ours. He came here from a better place out east beyond the range. He had a good and godly soul, but one night that all changed. Back then old Nick had been robbing banks all up and down the line. His desperados hadn't found us yet, but it was just a matter of time. So when a band of men on coal black horses rode into the town, the sheriff and his posse sprung a trap and circled around. Now we don't want any trouble, Nick, the goodly sheriff said. So if you turn around and leave right now, I won't have to shoot you dead. Well, old Nick laughed when we drew our guns, his men didn't even flinch. His big dog let out a mournful howl, and it sounded something like this. Eyes locked across the dusty square, yellow on bright blue. My pistol grip was slick with sweat, so my aim wasn't quite true. Still, I'm sure before all hell broke loose, I put around it Nick. Then the horse's hoofs stirred up the dirt, and the haze became too thick. Still, I fired off a few more shots before an eerie silence fell. Then I thought I saw two glowing eyes like two candles lit in hell. When the dust finally settled down, well, I couldn't believe my eyes. Oh, Nick and all his men stood there unhurt but still alive. Our posse all lay on the ground with holes shot through their chests, except the sheriff with the silver star still shining on his vest. When old Nick saw him standing there, he gave an evil hiss. He said, "Follow me now if you dare, and we'll put an end to this." Nick led his men back down the street, then back out of town, while the sheriff and I mounted up so that we could ride them down. We chased them across the darkening plains into the setting sun. I followed behind his shining star, one bullet left in my gun. When the desperados rode up on a train, we followed suit. The sheriff was determined to end he and Nick's dispute. In the last dregs of the dying light, we climbed on board that train. Its sides were black, its boiler steamed, and its lonely whistle sang. Stepped inside of the caboose and I saw Nick up ahead. He was grinning back at both of us, surrounded by the dead. He waved for us to follow as he pressed on through the train, and we passed out of the world of men into the world of Cain. On that ghost train I saw devils of every shape and size. Some were playing Pharaoh and some were shooting dice. Skeletons and Stetsons and decomposed ranch hands, all dancing to the ghoulish song of a dead mariachi band. we traveled on, I noticed the sheriff's star began to dim, and it was harder to see through the dark, separating me from him. Then all at once he disappeared behind a door of flame, and it was then that I began to see the truth of old Nick's game. From behind the door I heard a shot, and then a human scream. Then everything slowed down like I was stuck inside a dream. I busted through the door to find the silver star was gone, and there were now two pairs of glowing eyes where there had once been one. Well, I lost all hope when I saw the thing that used to be a man, and as I looked into its yellow eyes, well, I began to understand. If I wanted to escape old Nick and set my own soul free, I only had one chance left, my bullet was for me. Now some folks say the sheriff and Nick, they shot each other down, and others say took a silver star off to a better town. But it's just another lost soul serving on the devil's train. Sometimes at night you still hear its whistle howling across the rain. That's the story of a good and godly man and how he fell. Lost his silver star and ended up on the 310 out of hell. So if you ever think you're proof against old Nick and all his friends, remember how our lucky sheriff met his unholy end. Ooh.